Hey everybody, MS Farzan here, and in this video we're going to take a look at how to self-publish on IngramSpark. Ingram is a very well-known publisher, and they have a self-publishing hub called IngramSpark, which I'm sure you know if you're taking a look at this video. And I'm also sure that you've probably already tried creating your own account and are looking at your dashboard where you can add new titles. That's where I am. I've just clicked on Add New Title, and I'm in this blank content management system where I can begin to self-publish my new title. What I would love to happen is for you to already have gone through the process of creating a book that you want to self-publish and using one of the templates available to make sure that it fits all of the specifications that it needs to before you walk through this tutorial, as you might get stuck if you don't already have the files that are necessary to do so. Where we're going to start is just selecting a print book up here, and it says that choose this only if you have PDF files for your print title and only want print distribution. You could also do an ebook or a print in ebook. I'm going to presume that you're probably doing your ebook elsewhere, like your maybe Amazon or somewhere else, but you could do that through Ingram if you wanted to. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set a title for your book. I'm just going to use this example of a book that I've already written and published, self-published, which is called Intromancy, Book 1 of the Night Path Trilogy. So I'm just going to enter that in here. I'll just say Intromancy, and if you have a subtitle, you can put that here. You're going to have to choose a language. For me, it's going to be English, and a short description that essentially says what your title is about. That's going to populate here. I'm going to use this one here. It's actually pretty short, just a few sentences. And this is not the kind of thing that you'll see like if you intend to eventually sell your paperback distributed through IngramSpark, but appearing on places like Amazon. This is not the long description that you're going to use. It's just something that you need to provide here, and it's maximum 350 bytes. I've used 346 with this short description. Any keywords separated by semicolons with a 250 character limit of what your books are about. Mine is a cyberpunk science fiction fantasy urban fantasy book that has San Francisco and dragons in it. So that's pretty clear in terms of keywords. If there's a name and number for the book, for example, mine's called the Night Path Trilogy and it's book 1. So I'm going to enter that in here. If it were book 2 or 3, I could do that here. Or if there are different editions, or if this is a different edition of your book, that would be a useful place to put that. Your full description is going to go in here in this new field. And if you want to mess with the HTML, or basically just some basic styling with if you want it to be bold or italics, or if you want to link to it, you can do that here. After I've done that, I'm going to continue to the next step, and I need to add any authors or editors or contributors to my book. Presumably one of those is me. So I'm just going to add Farzan as my last name, and then MS as my first name, and not use a middle name here. And I chose my role as the author, but perhaps I might have an alto soloist, or I have a director or an editor, and I want to add those contributors as well. And I could also use this section to add an about section for each contributor. Continue to the next step. I'm going to choose my imprint, which an imprint is basically like who's publishing the book. My publishing company is called Night Path Publishing. You might use your own name. You might create a different publishing company. That's really up to you. And you'll need to find subjects for each of your books. So let's say I'll look up my book is a cyberpunk book. So let me search for cyberpunk. And it brings up this fiction code, which is FIC 028100. That's fiction, science fiction, cyberpunk. That's great. And let's say I do that for 2 more subjects. That'll work great for me. There might be a regional subject or a thema subject that you can look into. And you'll definitely want to choose an audience here. You have to choose an audience. I'm going to say mine is trade or general, which is just, everybody, adults. If you have a table of contents or review quotes, you can include them here, and you'll want to indicate if your book has photographs and or illustrations. And that brings us to step 4, which is where we decide our trim size for the book. This is where you'll have to do some work with your design person, or maybe you have those skills yourself, to create the version of the book that you're going to be uploading, as well as the cover for the book, particularly if you're doing a paperback book and not an ebook, or a hardcover book, I should say. The formatting you can do yourself for the interior. If it's a simple paperback or hardcover that's just text, you can download a template and just do it that way. But in creating the cover, you'll probably need to use InDesign or something a bit more fully featured, and that I would just generally recommend getting a designer's help to get that done for you. Also, it'll just look nicer. So let's say the trim size, I'm just going to be doing a 6x9 paperback. And the interior for ease is going to be black and white, and the background is going to be cream, or creme as it says here. I want a paperback binding. I want it to be perfect bound so that it just looks like a normal paperback would look. And then let's say I want it to be a matte cover and not a glossy cover. I tend to like the matte cover for paperback books, but this will depend on your own ideas of what the book should look like. And you should also order a physical proof so that it matches the specifications that you have for it. And I want to determine a page count. I think Ingramancy is 261 or 262. So let's just say that for now. Then I get to choose in the final section the ISBN that I'm using. If you're not familiar with ISBNs, I'll direct you to a website. You just look for Boker ISBN, and this will come up, myidentifiers.com. This is where you can purchase an ISBN for your book, which you'll need to do for each edition of your book. They're a little bit expensive, $125. So I would suggest that you budget that in self-publishing your book. And what you'll get is a 13-digit code that you'll get to enter in here. Actually, it looks like they have their own link here that will take you to Boker if you need it. And it says that you can receive a free ISBN owned by IngramSpark. I'm not sure how this works. If you do that through Amazon, that's only if you're going to be distributing through Amazon. So perhaps that's a similar thing here. If you want to get a free ISBN by IngramSpark, you will have some sort of rights or royalties that are tied to specifically IngramSpark and disallow you from publishing elsewhere. But I'm not really sure. I would just look into it. I always just buy ISBNs for my books unless I'm publishing them specifically through Amazon and nowhere else. So definitely some research for your own project to determine how you want to handle this. But you do need an ISBN to be able to distribute your books through IngramSpark. In the next section, you'll determine what your retail price will be. Let's say I'm going to price it at $6.99, but in the United Kingdom, I want to do it for a different price. I can determine all this, and this is all going to have to do with my own strategy for how I want to sell my book and how much return I want to get on it based on the printing costs and so on and so forth. So you'll have to do a little bit of work there to determine what that looks like for you. It will vary based on your page count, based on whether or not you have black and white or color pages, and a lot of other different factors. So you'll have to think that through. And then you'll determine a publication date by clicking on this and see when it is you actually want to publish it or when it's going to be on sale. And with all of that information completed, I don't have an ISBN for this, so I'm not going to take this any further. But with all of this information that's been entered, I'll be able to continue and take a look at a digital proof of my novel or my paperback or hardcover on IngramSpark. And once I've done that, and that's also presuming that you've uploaded the cover and uploaded the interior files for the book, you'll be able to look at, like, what does the cover look like? Are all the margins correct on the inside of the book? Is everything laid out the way that I need to, or do I need to make some changes? And when you approve those changes, you can also request a hardcover or a physical paperback or hardcover proof. And I highly recommend doing that as well, because you might see everything that looks just perfect on screen, but you want to make sure that you like the glossy cover instead of the matte cover, or that your pages, when printed, you like the cream or creme paper better than you like the white paper, or maybe you have a lot of color images in your cover or even in the interior of your book. You want to make sure that the print colors look just the way you want them, because there can be some variation between the digital version of your book and the physical version of your book. So it's good to check on those things and give yourself time to have them delivered, and that will also cost you to print them and ship them. So take that into account and give yourself some time, a window of time to make sure that everything looks exactly as you want it to when your potential customers and readers receive them, before you go ahead and hit publish book and make it live for sale. So that's the gist of how to self-publish on IngramSpark using their back-end content management system. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. You can also check out my books and games, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.